Brian and Eric here from the Leonhardt Team at Coldwell Banker Realty. Hey, just want to do another reintroduction to one of our rising stars here on the Leonhardt Team, here, Mr. Eric Gogerty. Eric, wanted to just get to know you a little bit of your background. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Chisago Lakes, pretty close to us here in Forest Lake. My whole life, been there since I was 2 years old up until 2021. And then I moved away and went to LA.
Yeah, so what'd you go to LA for, your first job, right? Tell us a little bit about that story.
So, I got into sales, got my first sales job. So I went kind of a different route. I did college, found out that wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I decided I was going to work my way up in a company, worked at Target, found that was the corporate ladder is very long and they don't pay enough. Wasn't the speed that I wanted to go in. And so then I ended up taking an ad in Craigslist for, do you want to be your own boss, learn sales and marketing, and build a team in 6 to 12 months? And so I was like, sounds exactly what I would need.
How old are you at the time?
I was 21.
You're 21?
21.
Okay.
Just got let go from my first job. I used to paint apartment rooms. Found out that's not my gig. I'm not a painter. Wasn't good at it. They said, you suck. We're going to lay you off. I'm like, all right, I got to find a new gig. So I was like really kind of thinking about what do I want to do? And I was really into Mad TV at the time. Not Mad TV, I'm sorry. Mad Men. I was really into Mad Men, and which is like a marketing, sales. Yeah. Don Draper, the man. Yep. I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to get into sales and marketing. And so looked that up on Craigslist and found this ad, and it's like, deal, and get in there and learn sales in construction, did that. And then COVID happened and moved back to be with family. And so then at the time, my ex, she was like, hey, you're good at sales. Like, you should get into real estate. I think you'd be good at it. And so I had a few people that told me that, and I liked the idea of real estate. I thought, I loved nice homes and the idea of helping people buy their first house. Because when I bought my first house, that excitement, you save so much money to get into a house and to find it, even that process is fun. And so that's when I decided, I'm like, I'm going to give this a shot. And that's literally my favorite part, is helping first-time home buyers, that excitement they are when they finally find the house and you get their offer accepted and you get to the closing table, and it's just that joy, my favorite part.
No, I think that is the beauty, and I think the thing that I think you have to really enjoy as being a real estate agent is that piece, of hey, this is a really difficult decision. This is a lot of money. This is a complicated process. There's a lot of problems that can happen with this, right? And being able to guide somebody through that, right? And being able to solve those problems to get to the end point where a little different than a bag of makeup.
Bag of makeup. Yeah,
right?
I've upped my sales. Yeah. Big ticket item now.
Yeah, of having something that people really enjoy, I think is the joy of it, for sure.
And so, I found my career. I'm sticking to this. It's a little bit of a nicer transition, I think, of going and trying to sell people, hustling bags of makeup to people while they're eating. You know, and sneaking into places. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're in the spring market, kind of early spring market of 2025. You've been out and active quite a bit. What have you been seeing kind of in the marketplace recently?
Recently, we're seeing, I think the biggest thing, it kind of cooled off for a second, but now we're seeing a lot of people back hitting the market. It's like, I think Minnesota, we're hermit crabs. Weather starts to get nice. People start wanting to look at houses and start buying. And so seeing a lot of multiple offers, anywhere basically under $350,000 or $50,000 homes. Houses are going fast and going high.
What would you say, what's your biggest recommendation for first-time home buyers that are running into that? Like, what should they do?
Right. Well, it's definitely good to have a good agent to help negotiate and know kind of the ins and outs of what you can do to make your offer stand out to the sellers, and that can be, my favorite one is the escalation clause. And obviously that only works if you do have quite a bit of money to kind of go over that amount. If you're pre-approved, then what the house is worth, which is sometimes a good thing to do, to go look at homes maybe just a little bit under, so you can put up a little bit more. And then just, things that kind of help with the inside of the purchase agreement, which would be your inspection. If you lower that, or if you are pretty good at understanding, I don't always like to recommend not doing an inspection, especially if you're a first time home buyer, because you don't want to get into problems. It's always good to check. But if you can lower how many days inspection period is, and we have guys that we can recommend for the inspection that we can get out very quick, so we can always lower that for them.
So as a first-time home buyer getting out there, it's kind of realize that that's what's going to happen.
Prepare them for that. Hey, there is lots of multiple offers on homes, and the homes are going quick. How comfortable do we got to be prepared to tighten up our offer like, are you guys okay with doing a 2-day, 3-day inspection?
What about, I mean, all right, so we're seeing those multiple offers and strategies be able to get an offer accepted kind of in there. Where do you see like the market kind of heading? So now you're talking like 350 and unders. We're mostly seeing that in buyers kind of coming out a little bit more in this market. What else do you kind of seeing, I think, as far as, how this market's moving right now?
I see it just kind of picking up as the weather gets nicer. I think as we get into April and May, I think it's just going to get kind of even more of that, and hopefully we can get, the goal is also get more listings, and help provide people with more houses so they can help get in their house, get into their first home, and help sellers find their new home and upgrade. So, most of the people that are kind of moving from that 300,000 home are going to the 500, and we're seeing that a lot. So I think I see that kind of going, and then interest rates seem to be coming down, which brings out more buyers. I mean, it's still a seller's market though.
Yeah, no, I think that is what we're seeing kind of in this. It's starting to pick up with the buyers kind of getting out there because the weather's getting nicer, right? And I think, sellers are still like contemplating it, right? They're kind of coming on little by little, but I think it's still a little bit early, I think, for a lot of sellers. They'll wait a little bit to that May and June kind of time period to kind of go, hey, now we'll put our house on the market, kids are getting out of school. So I think having that kind of conversation or knowing that, inventory is going to probably start to pick up. It's an earlier time for people. And I think for a first time home buyer too, is having this idea and anticipation of it may take a couple of tries to be able to get something accepted. You know, there are, I mean, you've probably had this where you've had multiple offers for a client and you've gone through a few of them, right? How many times does it typically take for a client to get under contract when they're in that kind of multiple offer marketplace?
Yeah, I guess, that is probably a good question to, kind of figure out, but at least 10, it can happen. I mean, you got to be prepared. Be prepared that, we might not get the first one. But I always tell everyone, and everybody at the end is always like, you were right. Everything happens for a reason. So if we lose out, I know it felt like that was the one. Yeah. There is another one out there that is better, that is going to fit you. And I even use that in my own life. When I was looking during the COVID times when houses hit the market and they were, nobody did open houses anymore. They were just going up. Like they were out of style, right? Everybody was buying and I couldn't get a house. And then I always dreamed of living in White Bear Lake, but never thought I could afford it at the time where my price was. And there was a house sitting there and we walked in and it was exactly what we wanted. And we got it. And it was like, wow. And then the whole time, the other houses that we saw, we're like, man, cause it can be draining. That's where, again, having that already, I've bought a house, I can feel for that first time home buyer, that stressfulness and, exhaustion of just like keep looking and you're like, oh, we lost out another one. But I promise you it's worth the wait and you will get the house. We just got to keep pushing forward and you'll get it.
No, I think that is the big advice to have, because it's like, I liked this house. I put this offer together as good as I can make the offer, as I'm comfortable with, right? And it's like, I'm pushing and maybe I'm $5,000 over what it's even listed for, or $10,000 over. It's like, how am I not getting this house, right? And then you don't. It's like, as soon as that gets over, it's like, that was the one, and you run into that all the time. I think having that conversation with somebody that's lost out on a few of them is to keep that kind of like, hey, it's okay. This happens to other people. This is kind of what this marketplace is looking like, or has been for a little while. So keep that kind of positivity and the empathy toward that, with them. Of like, I know this is hard, but in the long run, it's worth it. And I think that's always the thing of like, you have somebody that's done 5, 6, 7 offers and not getting accepted, and they finally get that one. It's like, this one just makes up for all the rest of them.
Correct. They always feel that every time. So and it gives me the confidence every time to say that I'm not also lying, you know what I mean? But I know it happened with me and it's happened for many of my clients every time. Yeah. It'll work out in the right time. So we keep pushing, and you also want to beat the people that do give up early, because now we have less competition. It's always a hard work pays off. So if we keep going, you'll find the right one and we'll get you in there. So
for sure. What do you think is like one of the most important things that you do for a client when it comes to going on showings or just in general in the process?
Yeah, I think, I like to say that I'm pretty good at negotiations and having the conversation with the other agent to help make our deal go through. But just for the client's sake, I think because I'm resilient with trying to help them find the home and giving them all the information they need. And I think the big thing is pointing out the things that, because we get into a house and you get excited about things like, oh, we like this. And it's like, hey, this is going on with this. This is something to be concerned about. Or, kind of giving them, like, I'm not just going to sell you every house we go into. I'm going to point out the things that we should be worried about and concerned. And I think everybody appreciates that, because most people, I wouldn't say most agents, but a lot of agents might, might, look past that and just say, hey, I want to get them in a house and don't care what it is. I don't want to talk bad about agents, but I think that's where a lot of people respect. They like the idea of that I'm pointing out things and not just trying to sell every house we go look at, that I'm literally, hey, we probably shouldn't buy this because of this issue. This came up in disclosures, how do we, I'm always open book. I'm not hiding anything.
I mean, I think the most important thing that we do is being able to identify those things of, this could be an issue for the future. Do we know what that is?
Right.
How do we solve it? When will it come up?
Solving problems, I guess, would be the other thing that I'm
huge.
good at, is helping clients. Yeah. How do we come up with this? It's okay. We're going to figure this out, guiding them. And the other thing a lot of my clients will say is, thank you for making it easy, that process easy. Because you think that it's easy when you look at the whole thing, like, oh, we just buy a house, you close. Like, there's a lot of things in between that can come up, and inspections or financing. We have an issue with paint peeling and we're FHA, and it's, how do we guide this? Oh, we'll get the seller to, so there's a lot of different things and variables. And that's why you should hire an agent, because a lot of people think, oh, I could do this myself. I'll represent myself. And it's like, do you know everything that goes into a contract? You know the things you can ask for the seller to pay for, and those type of things. So yeah, I think that's, what most clients will say is, thank you for making this process easy for me.
I think that's the thing that you do a great job of is being able to, where one, you need something done from Eric, right? I mean, that's, you're Johnny on the spot to be able to get it done. There's no thing too difficult or thing too scary of, like, right? There was, what was that story of, going out and painting the peeling paint, right? Right? Up in, where was that one at?
That was in Cambridge. FHA buyer, which they're, strict on peeling paint. And so we had a paint issue and we got the sellers to do that. And my buyer ended up getting $700 check at closing, because if there was any other issues with the paint, they were going to cover it with that, because it was in the middle of winter, which you can't paint in the winter. So they covered it. That's what I get you. I get you checks at the end of closing. No, I'm not going to confirm that every time, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Eric Gogerty. You'll see a lot of them around here. So awesome job that you've been doing. And I think any client would be happy to be able to work with you for sure. So
thank you.
Keep up the good work, and we'll keep going from there.
Yeah. And working with you guys. Thanks for being such great leaders.
We try to be.
Yeah.